Along the quiet slopes of Galilee, nestled at the foot of Mount Moreh, lies a small village most people pass by without a second thought. But hidden in this humble place is one of the most powerful and symbolic miracles recorded in the Gospels. This is Nain, the village where Jesus stopped a funeral procession and turned mourning into joy by raising a widow's only son from the dead. The story, found in the Gospel of Luke chapter 7, is brief, just a few verses. But what happens in those verses reveals something profound about who Jesus is and what his mission means. As Jesus approached the gates of Nain with his disciples and a large crowd, they met another crowd coming out, a funeral procession. A widow had lost her only son. In that culture, it was more than just the death of a loved one. It was the loss of her protection, her future, her livelihood. Her grief wasn't only emotional, it was total. What happens next is astonishing. Jesus doesn't wait to be asked. He sees her, is moved with compassion, and says to her, "Do not weep." Then, without fanfare or ritual, he touches the funeral bier and says, "Young man, I say to you, arise." And the dead man sits up and begins to speak. Jesus gives him back to his mother. In that moment, a life is restored, a family is restored, and for those watching, fear and awe filled them as they exclaimed, "God has visited his people." The miracle at Nain is not just about bringing someone back to life. It's about Jesus interrupting despair, about hope breaking into hopelessness. In Jewish tradition, the prophet Elijah had performed a similar miracle not far from here, in the town of Zarephath. And now, generations later, Jesus does the same, but with authority and compassion that leaves no question about his divine power. It wasn't just a healing, it was a public declaration. Death does not have the final word. Today, the village of Nain, also spelled Nain, is quiet, small, and mostly Arab Muslim. There are no flashing signs or grand tourist entrances, but there is a modest Franciscan church built in the 19th century, marking the traditional site of the miracle. The church is usually closed, only opened for special pilgrimages or by arrangement, but standing near it, overlooking the same valley that Jesus would have walked through, the sense of significance is still strong. From Nain, you can see Mount Tabor rising in the distance, the traditional site of the Transfiguration. Just a short journey away is Nazareth, where Jesus grew up. The area is filled with biblical memory, but Nain stands out for what it represents. This was not a planned stop. Jesus didn't go there to perform a miracle. He was simply passing by. But when he saw suffering, he acted. That says everything about his nature. The miracle at Nain also foreshadows what was to come. Just as Jesus raised the widow's son, he would later raise Jairus' daughter, then Lazarus, and ultimately, he would rise himself. Nain is one of the first clear signs that Jesus had authority over death, something the people had never seen before. It was a miracle not just of power, but of mercy. Walking through Nain today, it may not seem like much has changed. The village remains small, surrounded by olive trees and farmlands. Children play in the streets. Shepherds still guide flocks across the hillsides. But for those who know the story, every step through the village is a reminder that something eternal happened here. In a place where people were preparing to bury a future, God stepped in and rewrote the ending. The miracle of Nain reminds us that no story is too far gone. That even when everything seems lost, when the funeral has already begun, hope can still arrive. Jesus didn't just restore a life. He restored a future, a purpose, a joy that had been buried. If you're drawn to places where faith meets the real world, where ancient villages still carry the weight of sacred encounters, then subscribe to this channel. There are many more places like Nain waiting to be discovered, where history and hope come together in ways we're still learning to understand.